Hello everyone. The title of today's episode is titled, You Are Less Than Nobody. And so the title is revealing the notion that when we look at the performance of existence, we are all aware pre-form. What that means is a child is born on this planet. The child looks in the mirror, acknowledges its human form, but also acknowledges that the reflection is not the person, actual experience of the person in looking in the mirror, you see? And so what that means is you're looking at the mirror even though your reflection is looking back at you. Now, instead of just seeing a mirror, just like when you read a book or you look at other people or talk to other people, you are seeing the reflection of the presence and alignment of your own mind. So most people, you see guys, we cannot read each other's minds, but how we speak and what we speak about shows where the mind has looked at. In this life, you're always happening. What that means is whether you disagree or agree with whatever idea, life is going to happen, and tomorrow you're going to have a new experience that is going to recalibrate every experience you've ever had. And so that's the phenomenal thing, because it's as if our body is made of earth and our mind is made of sky, and the soul is inconceivable because the infinite is infinite. So you see, when we see that our measurements can get stretched to infinity, they all become void. So that means some mysteries can never be answered using number and measurement. Whether in your wonder, mathematics becomes, to some degree, one of the preliminary particles for consciousness, we're going to see that these three numbers are very important to pay attention, and then the rest. This is what Mr.Within finds. Every great mind in this world that has looked at numerology has seen their own world, and so Mr.Within would like to share his. See, guys, I paid attention to the numbers 0, 1, and 2, and I found that I can metaphorically and very poetically see those three numbers as the experience of body, mind, and soul, or consciousness, or pure original awareness, whatever you like to call it, Atma. You see that when you look at your body, there is a separation, and we're in a world of duality. There's good and bad stuff happening there, and so that body sees through, let's say, the number 2, and then, or actually, let me begin it the other way around, So, guys, check this out. First, a consciousness originates. The number 0 is here. The number 0 doesn't have a numerical presence, but has a presence. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have a value, but it is. We have the number 0. So you see, the number 0 is like the space, and then the number 1 is the origin of the intelligence in the space, which is permeating everywhere. So when you look at your mind, you see that it is to some degree all phenomena is happening in your moment as one. Simply because you are receiving it as one. And this means that some aspects of our spiritual experience is based on a personal dimension of self-reflection, and another aspect of our, let us say, playfully spiritual experience is based on our relationship with others and the world we see. So there is you, there is the world, and then there's that moment where all is happening, which we say it is to some degree. If the mind could throw a spear of knowledge into the unknown, we would see that the spear would just come back down, but we would still see this unknown sky, which is the soul to some degree. That means people should not humanize the idea of soul to their specific conditioning that they got when they were a kid. Rather, they need to see in them truly, like sincerely, you just hearing my voice right now, let's say you just go sit down, somewhere in your room, forget the word meditation, and for a second you just wonder. And in this wonder, you come to see that how much of your life is being, like how would I say it, how much of your life is based on an idea, and how much of it is just based on the simplicity of your moment. Would you believe it? Not even believe. Would you know this if Mr. Within said that your eyes are teaching you beyond sight? That there is an intelligence here that is moving all phenomena at once. And so we can say, yo man, you're separate, I'm separate, that guy's the bully, this guy's the bully, but we see no. We're all here together, we're all on one planet and enough acting like animals. Every being on this planet has an implication to act like an animal. And what that means is it's as if like, as if you just think you're a body, you have to some degree denied yourself entrance into the palace of your mind, And so this is the beautiful thing, because, okay, let me get a bit mystically technical here. So guys, this is what happens. Let us say you're a Himalayan yogi. You go sit in a cave. You're going to confront stillness and silence. Then you're going to see that when your body doesn't move, you pay attention. Your attention becomes the movement of your ideas. Now, after your ideas, let's say after a certain while of meditating and just attaining tranquility in your own intuitive way, you're going to see that you're also beyond the movements of the mind. So when the mind becomes still, it all becomes activity of the soul. When it all becomes activity of the soul, there's one fundamental cognition and realization that needs to be had, where the person, it is so beautifully said, so many mystics. I have read too many quotes on the internet, about many different human beings from different parts of the world saying the same thing, that after some point you're going to recognize that this point is connected to every other point, because existence is a singular phenomenon. And this singular phenomenon, once it acknowledges and accepts its singularity, it is going to realize it is the emptiness of space. That means, would you believe it? We are the omnipresence of the intelligence of space that has led to the planet, which has led to us. Some people think when they ask, some people when they ask, like, how would I say it? When someone asks Mr. Within and they say, hey man, who's your ancestor? I will say my ancestry transcends a who. My ancestry is every phenomena. Because when you see, which is, this is an interesting note, that, let's say energy cannot be created or destroyed, or the mass of existence doesn't change, but, it transforms. We kind of recognize that we are in eternity scared of our temporal death. Do you see that? And this eternity is not definable. It's not an eternity where a guy with a top hat and a pipe and one of those one glasses, one of glasses, like can say, oh yes, eternity. I know these. Eternity, of course, for a yogi is not immortality, because immortality is not willing to surrender the ego. But for eternity, the being is, because it is realizing that it's not just this individual body. I remember I was sitting with a friend of mine in the yard, and we were just talking. It was interesting because we were both acknowledging how this physical experience is such a minute aspect of your true presence as a being, as a cosmic being. That means your awareness to the cosmos is, for your body seen dualistically, but for your mind is a unified field, and beyond that, it is all just how consciousness is originating. So you see, some sages at first, the reason they renounce is because they realize life is not like a tool, some kind of mechanical technology that can be used. Even though we have that ability, but I'm telling you, your view on your philosophy on life can be linearized to A, B, C, both in time and space recognition. So if you're saying, oh, this is where I was, this is where I am now, this is where I'm going. For the yogi, where he is now is simultaneously leading or suggesting where he was and where he is going. So you see, most people are trying to get enlightened as bodies, but when you try to get enlightened as a mind, there's no instruction booklet because you need to confront your true self. And confronting your true self is not like a lesson, it's not like a school lesson. That's the thing. Confronting your true self is literally like a warrior who's just, in the front lines of an army, and he's seeing that the war has begun and everything's happening and he's already in it. He's just opened his eyes in this war, and the warrior just confronts it. He says, okay, life has brought me here, let me see what's up, and the being goes in. And so what I'm saying, of course, the dynamics of war are to some degree ending. The era of violence is going to cease to exist, So when that happens, beings are going to see that there is a grander field. So the only way we're not going to kill each other is that our idea of scarcity realigns to how consciousness can never die. And I really wish I could say this to all my economics, teachers and professors in this lifetime, but they're too busy, trying to get a free lunch. And I'm saying this because in economics they say, one of the fundamental ways of seeing economics is that there's no such thing as a free lunch. You see, after some point in my life, I stopped trying to live. I stopped trying to get enlightened. I stopped everything. And when I did, I had no expectation to fail or to be rejected in any way, or even an expectation to succeed, because some people, they can act renounce, but like suddenly when their desires come close to them, the guy's been sober, suddenly, one night, he gives up temptation. So you see, you gotta be mindful. The thing is, every day you wake up, think of it as if the Facebook browser page is refreshed. So if you assume that it's the last, based on the last, yesterday's Facebook post, you're going to see that today's Facebook posts are new. So you have to confront the novelty of your life, which means for the wise man, you require to be a bit detached to all those things that because you've took them, you have to let it go also. You see? And so the game of destiny is best played through preferenceless and playfulness. Through preferencelessness and playfulness. The human form is a remembrance of God. And what that means is many sages of old have said that the external experience of man is the internal experience of God. What that means is it's as if we are within the cosmos and its intelligence pervades all of us. So you see, some people are saying, they think only Mr.Within is talking right now. But I will tell you, yes, to some degree I am, but to another degree, it is all a natural function. That means I don't think about my breathing. So one day I just realized, why am I thinking about all those things that I think I need to think about? And so when you truly explore whether the thinker is a thought or that's just a loop taught in schools by teachers who just followed what the other teachers said, to be honest, you will become a teacher when you explore new dimensions of your own experience. And when you do so, you're going to see that you can always talk about it. So what that means is, think of it this way, that what is very most memorable to you is what you engage the most, or what you were pushed into a situation to engage the most. So I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, young kid, we were in Vancouver. And so, my brother and mother were sitting on the swing, and so I was going to join them, and I just start running from the hallway, just this kid, and our windows, the window to our balcony was so what do you call it? The window to our balcony was so clean, that I didn't even see it, and I just go bam into the window. This is real, guys. This happened. It was like I was really young. I was a really young kid, but I had so much energy, and I was just running, and I was just like, yo, swing, just like swing, and I was just ran, and I just, and it was crazy because then I fell down, and the glass broke, and there was glass everywhere, and I was just lying down on the carpet of our house, as if like the end of a movie where the villain's been pushed, kicked. Kicked from a window to go just there, and of course 911 came in so quick, I can't believe 2 minutes, and I was in the hospital getting stitches and all that stuff. But it was very interesting because the suggestion is that sometimes our engagement and involvement with life is based on just how life has been made. So, regardless of how much, this is when responsibility comes in, when you see you can do nothing about changing the overall scenario, but you can at least align and abide by the truth that you see within all. For God is a catalyst to self-realization, and that self is the gift from God. So guys, I will tell you, my life, from a very early age, I have acknowledged that there has been an intelligence here that has always heard me, and I have always heard it. Many people on this planet are dancing on their own, and I will tell you, especially greatness, people who are really trying to do great things, you're going to go through very, profound states of loneliness, but, that loneliness is not like a punishment. That loneliness is to some degree an ability for you to not have the influence of anyone else's mind, and in your own state develop yourself in a way where it's not by the expectation of your ideology. It is not because someone told you don't be a turtle, be a turtle, don't be like a rabbit, you know what I mean, in that story, rabbit turtle race story. It's all about a moment where you are going to suddenly notice that you're going to die someday, like everyone else. And when you see that death is a natural phenomenon, you're going to truly wonder about life, and you're going to live life truly. You're going to also live your life. So this is the beautiful thing, guys. It took me 18 to 20 years to realize this, But I realized suddenly that I was not living my life. I was living the life that society and everyone around me had told me, And so when I realized that, it's not that I was suddenly became a rebel. No, to some degree, I became curious, sincerely curious, not insincerely curious. I began to truly wonder how existence is existence, and I saw that there are unknown states. There are known states, but the greatness of mankind's ability is that he is beyond all of them, because he can go through all of them. You see, that means when you can go anywhere on the mountain, probably you can also get on a helicopter and just see all around that atmosphere without being directly within. So you see that. Think of it this way: your mind lives in your body, your soul lives in your mind, and the body lives in just the objectivity it sees the present. You see, I started with the title, "You Are Less Than Nobody." And so I want to just emphasize on that a bit more. You see, there's two ways how you can see this. You are less than nobody in the sense that you are equal to everyone. And there's a way of seeing you are less than nobody, which means you are less than nobody. That means you are the intelligence prior to nothingness, And of course, this is Mr.Within's, deep beyond this, But I'm sharing this, guys, because many of us don't live our own lives. We live lives that we think is what's expected of us, and that thought is originating out of an identity based on the past, but every new moment is a new allowance. And so, shall greatness come at last? I think many of our leaders in very influential positions must realize that for them to bring forth the greatest influence is that they need to allow the greatest possibilities and visions in the mind of these 8 billion people on the planet to somehow come to the front stage. And how that can happen is either we have, very, transcendentalist like scouts, very how would I say? Either there's a divine scouting process where the guru comes and finds, the student, or to some degree, the student finds the guru because life is guiding the student to the guru that way. You see, and the guru is not to some degree a physical phenomenon. The guru is an attention that is already in heaven, while the attention of the person still thinks is on earth. And what I mean by that is, imagine heaven is a selfless collective state of consciousness, Earth is an individual selfish state of consciousness. On this, when we open our eyes in the morning and when we walk on this planet, everyone's like, I gotta go eat, I gotta go do this, I gotta go do that, I got so much stuff to do, I got so much work, oh my god, I'm so busy, oh my god, let me update my busyness on my Facebook page, Facebook profile, Facebook status. The infinite and the infinitesimal walk side by side. My beloved, listen. You are equal in your allowance to exist on this planet to everyone else. And do not deny yourself the great opportunities that you know you can take, but the past is too noisy and distracting you from. Remember, there are many people in this life that we shall meet, but also many people we shall leave behind. And when I say leave behind, it's not our choice. It's just that we move, and when we move, every being is moving and in this dynamism. So it's as if, like, to be honest, the more technology evolved, the less friendlier people became. And I don't like this. It's as if the intimacy of just the innocent expression of life has been layered with useless ideas that serve their time, but now you must come with new ideas. And so there's this very beautiful quote in regards to an enlightened context where, it's a Zen saying, and it says, what does a monk do before enlightenment? Chop wood, carry water. What does a monk do after enlightenment? Chop wood, carry water. What that means is this performance of existence goes on, and the awareness pre-form is just everywhere because it is beyond time. For the love of truth, live a life absolutely beautiful. Mr. Within shall say, Mr. Within shall say this. That there, with one heartbeat, all beatings on this planet can end, as if a supernova of compassion happens. And let me tell you why I say with the heartbeat. Because a child will be born. A child with great influence in our future. Where this child will just look at the history books and it will say, what is this? And this child will come and look at how the world is. And this child will make a decision so guided by the intuition of the universe that with one breath and one command, this great child that will be born with influence is going to not bring world peace, because peace is always here, but to immediately stop the wars of the mind, which are bound to the hierarchical positioning of language. in our society. This child with one command is going to make all human beings realize that compassion first, then do whatever you like. The species is, much cooler than it thinks it is, much more cosmic and galactic than it thinks it is. I don't even know what thought is. I don't think anyone knows. We have definitions of it, but they can never be valid because there are unknown dimensions to our mind, which to some degree is the beauty of how knowledge can grow and evolve. And when there's evolution, how could there be fear when the whole reality shifts? The cells in our body change every 2 weeks. That means, after some time, as the years are going, you're getting a new body. Now, as you're getting this new body, think of it this way, that your mind also changes, but your mind, which is founded upon how the attention of your soul goes on certain ideas, the ideas change as well. So to be honest, guys, you have a solar body, you have a mental body, and you have, let's say, a physical body, a material body. Now, the solar body is the whole moment. The mental body is that bridge between the whole moment and the physical body, which is to some degree being the cause of individuality. And so, this life may be a divine comedy. Because you could be a comic and you could say that bats make all the French toast in the world, but the psychology of human relationship is so complex that the next great teachings will not come from individuals, they will come from collectives, they will come from groups. We're going to learn from the activity of many minds acting as one, just like how many birds fly in the sky together, aligned and synchronized. If you want to challenge yourself, open your eyes, close your eyes and open them as if you're opening it for the first time and figure out all of existence again. You're going to see that practice, even though I'm not emphasizing this, I'm just saying this. You can see after some time that novelty is your friend, and God is how all our voices are moving in the unique ways that they are. There is nothing wrong with human existence, and there is nothing wrong with action. What is wrong is the unrighteousness when something in this life tells you that don't do this thing, it's not good, and you still do it. That still doing is based because you are still thinking you're an idea that has to get something. But when you see you are actually a mind, so that means usually, all our ancestors, maybe they thought that they're a body that has a mind. We are now reaching a point where we're realizing we're a mind that has a body, and when we have one Wi-Fi connection connecting to many computers, we can see that to some degree it's the same for machinery. That means we're going to see that one mind, one intelligence is going to lead to the reception of many other forms of intelligence. But we're going to at some point also realize that the oneness of our experience is going to become so subtle that it's as if we were never born and we can never die, and change was a beautiful illusion when eternity is an endless sky. Sometimes when I speak, while I'm speaking in my cellular planes, like in my inner vision, let us say, I imagine in some way beautifully. I don't want to say I imagine because the phenomena just happens, so it's just imagination happens, And I, to some degree, see myself with every word and with the responsibility and the intensity of every sentence that comes into structure. In my cellular planes, I feel like some kind of swordsman in some battlefield, and what I am fighting is the ignorance of my own assumptions. Only to see that I can fight them infinitely, but I must accept life before it can accept me. And that's the thing. If you're a person who you're alone, there's a great possibility you have not accepted the world. And to accept the world means not to say that you know what's better, and you know it all, but just to realize that there's always unknown possibilities that can surprise you through divine revelation. There have been many moments in my life where I've gone, a bit up and down and wondering about the direction of these Mr. Within talks that I've given. And what's really inspired me has been just this view. I just realized that when you look at this, we're all on a rock spinning in the middle of nowhere. And so, what is the most advanced communication? And so, this is what Mr. Within is saying, guys, because the effort and inspiration of these talks is to allow people to realize that, yes, there is a way to self-realization that is through stillness and silence, which is a very valid way, and of course I say it a lot, but there's a way where it's through the advancement of your communication. So what that means is once you've gone through that silence and stillness, you're going to suddenly realize you're a presence beyond personality. Then that presence is going to recognize that it can happen with the world in its alignment with it. So what that means is either you're looking beyond the clouds and you're seeing the world aligned or not aligned. And so, Mr. Within, when I give these talks, I see everything aligned with an intelligence that cannot be separate. And so if you want to talk about it in regards to the personality is transient. When you realize this, you will see that no one can ever judge you. They can judge you in that moment, but you live many moments. I hope this talk has served you, and that there is no greater vision than the one you have always been, and you are being now. Before you think you're not enlightened, do you see how the light of consciousness is in your eyes? Live for your world. Why else is it here? Much blessings and all.